Never, but never advance the worst seeds that far in your bracket. You are asking for trouble, so be conservative. Now that we've bought into this advice, there may be times when betting on a 15 or 16 seed to cover or win outright because of the value may be appropriate. For this episode, let's look back at the 5 biggest upsets of the last several tournaments and if there are lessons to be learned for where a 1 or 2 seed may be vulnerable during the first week. Welcome to our Bracket Wisdom series on the Football Analytics Show podcast. I'm Edward Egros on assignment for the Power Rank. Don't feel like you should avoid touching another bracket ever again if you had Purdue winning the national championship last year. They were about as complete as anyone, featuring the National Player of the Year in Zach Edey, and seemingly getting a pushover in the first round against 16-seeded Fairleigh Dickinson. After all, the Knights were the shortest team in America, going up against the aforementioned 7-foot 4-inch Edey. How in the world could Fairleigh Dickinson contain a powerhouse like that? Well, it turns out they had a plan that they had been enacting all season long. The Knights pressed for most of the game, meaning they played close man-to-man defense, hoping to disrupt dribbling and passing. In fact, Fairleigh Dickinson pressed last season at one of the higher rates in the country. Now, it is a risky call because an offense that beats the press usually has an open look to the basket. But this time, it worked, forcing Purdue into 16 turnovers. They also got the Boilermakers to shoot more threes than they are accustomed, going from an average rate of attempts to 26 of them in that lone contest, ultimately going 5 of 26 for just 19%. Even though Purdue was way better crashing the boards and getting to the free throw line, it was superior shooting and that press defense that led to a shocking upset. As it turned out, the 2023 tournament would reward us with another Cinderella story. 2-seeded Arizona had one incredible offense led by Azuolas Tubelis and Umar Ballo. Combined, they would average more than 30 points a night, dominating the paint or kicking it out to an elite three-point shooter. How could Princeton ever keep up? Well, just like Fairleigh Dickinson, it would be with defense. They hounded Tubelis down low despite the size mismatch, forcing him into 6 turnovers. To make matters worse for Arizona, fouls were not called. Only 12 free throws were attempted the entire game. Not that the Tigers were necessarily playing dirty, but Princeton took advantage of conservative whistleblowing and utilized a successfully pesky style, grabbing rebounds and holding Arizona to without any points in the final 4 minutes 43 seconds. Princeton was also the beneficiary of both Arizona's lackluster outside shooting, 3 of 16 for 19%, and a number of key injuries. For all intents and purposes, Arizona used a 7-player rotation, and any injury is going to magnify problems, much less a few of them. Princeton had breaks, but they made the most of them. But these seismic upsets do predate 2023. Let's look at a few more to see exactly what happened. I would argue, of all of these upsets, 2-seeded Kentucky losing to St. Peter's might be the strangest. One of the godfathers of basketball analytics, and Dean Oliver, devised the 4 factors for basketball success: shooting, turnovers, rebounding, free throws. The Wildcats actually won 3 of these. They just couldn't shoot. Kentucky standout Oscar Tshiebwe had an effective field goal rate of 69%, but 3 other starters were at 29% or worse. As a team, Kentucky was just 4 of 15 from beyond the arc. However, the Peacocks had 4 starters with an effective field goal rate of 50% or better, notably Darrell Banks with his 27 points. It was balance and good shooting from 3 that overcame everything else Kentucky did well. Next, there's 2-seeded Ohio State losing to Oral Roberts in overtime in 2021. 3-point attempt rate is simply how many of a team's shots were from beyond the arc. For context, this year for any one program, the median rate was 37.5%. But right away, anyone could see the Golden Eagles were going to blow that median away when Max Asmus hit a 3 from the logo early in the contest. Ultimately, Oral Roberts had a 3-point rate of 50%. They went 11 of 35 from downtown, but it was still more effective than the Buckeyes' 22%. There was also elite work drawing contact. Oral Roberts came into the game shooting 82% from the free throw line, one of the higher rates we've ever seen in college basketball. They went 14 of 18 against Ohio State. Finally, there were few substitutions. Oral Roberts essentially used 6 players, with Asmus and Kevin Obanor playing all 45 minutes. They combined for 59 of the Golden Eagles' 75 points. If they were going to win, it would be because of their stars, and it happened. Finally, there's the capstone, the upset some considered might never happen. The first time a 16 seed beat a 1 seed. Back in 2018, when UMBC dispatched Virginia. Defensively, the Cavaliers play a pack line defense, meaning they clog the lane, take away drives, and force opponents to hoist threes. The idea is a college basketball team will not make enough triples to build a massive lead. But UMBC did, starting the second half going 3 of 4 before the first TV timeout, even getting fouled on another attempt. It was a three-point rate of 50% for the Retrievers. Those makes meant UVA started to stretch that pack line defense, which may have been a mistake as new options opened up for UMBC's offense. Not having DeAndre Hunter in that game, one of Virginia's better defenders, also hurt. Virginia also plays at a slower offensive pace. They are not designed for ferocious comebacks. It enshrined UMBC and changed tournament expectations forever. Now that we've gone over these upsets, let's look at some general trends and see if anything can be applied to this year's tournament. Huge upsets are all about variance. Though it may seem like teams are more evenly matched now than ever, big programs still have a massive advantage. Underdogs have to do something at least somewhat extreme to have a chance. UMBC and Oral Roberts had to have three-point shooting rates of 50%, even if it meant the possibility of missing a ton of shots. Fairleigh Dickinson, and to an extent Princeton, had to press and play tight defensively, even if it meant the possibility of giving up easier looks if opponents penetrated. Having your starters play to exhaustion may be the only hope of advancing. Losing by 30 or losing by 9 has the same result: an early exit in the NCAA tournament. Luck can play a factor as well. If officials allow a smothering defense to play on, predictions become tougher. If a massive favorite has several injuries not known to the public, predictions become tougher. But what we can look for are teams willing to take massive risks. Again, Oral Roberts had a three-point shooting rate of 50% against Ohio State, but they also had 8 games in the regular season with an even higher three-point rate. UMBC also had a three-point shooting rate of 50% against Virginia, and also had 8 games with higher rates. Fast forwarding to today, looking up teams with high three-point shooting rates is wise. Spoiler, BYU, Creighton, etc. And remember, it can be okay to trust a three-point shooting team. As Dr. Ed Fang points out in his book, How to Win Your NCAA Tournament Pool, a three-point shooting team is no more likely to have an off night on offense than a team that takes more two-point shots. In other words, don't let anyone tell you a three-point shooting team will get cold in March. It may also help you to find defenses that press a lot. Again, it's risky because if beaten, offenses do get easier shots. It also takes a lot of effort to have, say, a full court press for much of a game. But if that's what it takes to pull off an upset, so be it. If all of this work isn't tricky enough, just because a team has a tendency to play a certain way doesn't always mean they will remain consistent. Unpredictability is helpful. Quality underdogs should know they need to increase the variance to have a chance to continue playing. Picking out coaches who understand this concept may be difficult. It's another reason why finding massive upsets is treacherous. But even in this case study of 5 examples, we've seen enough common bonds to know how an upset is constructed. Thank you for listening to this episode of Bracket Wisdom on the Football Analytics Show podcast. I'm Edward Egros. Friendly reminder, make sure to check out the Power Ranks March Madness cheat sheet that makes it drop dead easy to fill out your bracket. These predictions are based on analytics that have predicted the game winner in almost 70% of the last 15 tournaments. To get this cheat sheet, sign up for the free email newsletter at thepowerrank.com. That is Dr. Ed Feng's site for better March Madness predictions through analytics. Once again, that's thepowerrank.com. Members of the Power Rank get access to full bracket advice for how to win your pool. This includes the Power Rank's very best analytics, strategy, and insights into basketball. Members also get access to member predictions for each game and college basketball player props during the tournament. To learn more, go to thepowerrank.net. This is a URL that will take you to the page on the site dedicated to becoming a member of the Power Rank. Once again, that's thepowerrank.net. Thanks again for listening, and take care.